You are listening to the Centaku Media podcast, a source for sharing interests beyond the scope of anime because we're in the center of other otaku interests. Hey everyone, this is your host Sandro Tran of the Centaku Media podcast. It is the 19th episode of the Centaku Media Journal. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. And also, if you're a returning listener, thank you again for sticking around. And also, speaking of those that have been around Centaku Media for a while, this past July 14th has been Centaku Media's 14th anniversary. I know time flies so fast, and I know to some people, especially if they've been around for like maybe a last year or two of Centaku Media, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but so just a little trivia for those that are curious about what Centaku Media is about. It originally started under a slightly different name. So when it launched in 2007, it was originally called Centaku Media, which still has the same meaning as it does today, but it kind of makes more sense now. But it was a rough translation of the Center of Otaku, Anime, and Gaming. So that means everything that's, how the, I don't know, for those that are familiar with the word otaku in Japan, in Japanese, it means, someone who's obsessed with something, or I guess I forget the literal meaning of it, but basically it's like it's not really just specifically anime related to the anime fandom, but it can be any kind of obsession, like guns, comic books, like not manga, but like American comic books. Who else can it be otaku? I guess someone that collects antiques. I guess I could be an antique otaku. I can't speak. I'm sorry. An antique otaku, guns, anything that's not really specifically anime related, but of course it's a huge part of the society in Japan. So of course it's always going to be associated with anime fans, but it can be also any other obsession. So again, games obviously. So, but they usually go hand in hand if you enjoy anime. Gaming is usually like that too, but I know some people are different. People don't really care for games, but they really like anime. I know that's been a thing, and I've mentioned underhandedly over the years, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, so yes, Centaku Media, that's what it was originally called, but it was under a different domain name, which was centakumedia.info. But when I hit my roadblock, or rather writer's block / crisis I had in real life, I had to take a break for a couple of years all of a sudden, and then we relaunched Centaku Media in 2015. So here we are now. It's been 6 years since we've restarted operations, and I know things have changed quite a bit. So, like, the readers, it's really hard to get new readers compared to way it was at least a decade ago, because Google changed their algorithm quite a bit, and then of course people have different opinions of things, and now compared to when they did also a decade ago. But I'm still hanging in there, and basically if anything this is more of a hobby, but I would like to see it succeed someday, so I gotta put some effort into it, and I would like to see the returns on that effort. So if you've stuck around this long, thank you so much for listening to what I have to say and for reading what I have to write. And also I do, I've mentioned this in the past too, which I think was last year, but I know things have kind of changed a bit, but I do plan on having guest writers on the site, because we already have one at least, Sippy, who I've known for a long time, and he's contributed a few articles last year because he was between jobs during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he finally found a job after a few months. So he's since in the past year he's had a good success at that job. So of course when you have a job, especially depending on the capacity it's in, it's hard to have multiple projects. So I totally understand. So this site will be waiting for him when he comes back. But for those that are curious, I am open to new contributors. I just had to put it in a different way, so that way it'll be easy for everyone. But anyway, that's enough about that. But again, thank you again for sticking around, and thank you for joining in for the first time if you are new to Centaku Media. And also for those that are just want to be in the loop of Centaku Media, be sure to check out Centaku Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, which is at Centaku Media. and also on Twitch, in which we stream pretty much 3 times a week except the last week of the month. So by the time you hear this is the last week of streams for the channel, and on July 25th, the week of July 25th will be the break period. So be sure to check out the streams. If you are listening to this on launch day, that is if it's launched on time, we are streaming at 5 p.m., which is, on a Wednesday, of course, and we'll be streaming Shenmue 3, and then following Shenmue 3 in the third hour, we'll be playing Pokemon Sword, and I'm trying to get some, fewer games going. I'm trying to get the hang of using the queue system called Play with Viewers extension on Twitch. I hope there's some success out of that. And also, in addition to Shenmue 3, one of our major games that we're playing is Persona 5. So that is a Thursday and Friday deal, which is 9 p.m. on both nights. And of course, continuing with the Anything Goes tradition, which is, again, along with Pokemon, in the third hour, we'll play a random game just to kill the time. And this month so far, we've played Overwatch and StarCraft. I know they're both Blizzard titles. But Overwatch, I need some more practice on the PC version, but I mainly play on the PS4 where I've got 100+ level character. But this week, though, I'm playing StarCraft on Thursday, but I will not be able to play a game in the third hour on Friday due to some plans I have this upcoming weekend. So I hope you enjoy, and be sure to follow and make sure notifications are turned on, so that way when we return on August 4th, you'll be able to watch as soon as we go live. So anyway, that is it for the updates relating to Centaku Media, and now we are going to go on to the show. The main idea of the show is to talk about the latest news in the world of anime and other Asian pop culture interests. So if this is your move, I hope you will follow along. And to kick off our anime news segment, we got a story that's actually been kind of crazy for the last couple of weeks. And yeah, so in regards to finding places to watch anime, there was a unsuccessful Kickstarter campaign that tried to convince potential backers that they can do better than Crunchyroll or any of the other services that currently offer anime. And it's kind of weird because what they are promising, from what the industry insiders are saying, is that it's a scam. So the name of this site in particular is called AnimeTube. And they launched their Kickstarter about a couple of weeks ago. The campaign earned over $110,000 US dollars in pledges for an anime streaming app of that name. The campaign promises to deliver free anime on demand and claims that it will fix the shortcomings of the existing official services, including their limited libraries, according to what Anime News Network reported, because they've been all over this, obviously. However, various industry professionals have criticized the Kickstarter, calling the idea unrealistic. So, according to Justin Sefakis of Media OCD, he said that anyone intrigued or thinking about donating to AnimeTube's Kickstarter should not. And they're about a decade too late to that business model, and competing with Netflix, Warner, NBC, Universal, and hell, even Disney has been sniffing for anime streaming rights. So I'm guessing, just before I read the rest of the article, just to give you an idea what's going on. So basically, I think this website was trying to be the next Crunchyroll, back in the day Crunchyroll. Because you know how Crunchyroll, that's a little trivia for those that are new to anime, in the last few years. So Crunchyroll originally started as an illegal fan sub site. So basically, it's kind of like Kiss Anime. Because Kiss Anime stayed up for a long time, up until recently. But they shut down, I think, last year. But yeah, Crunchyroll uploaded fan subs of Naruto, Bleach, One Piece back in the day, before they became legit, several years later. But continuing with the article, at the time of launch, Kickstarter included a link to a list of titles that AnimeTube claimed were currently in discussion for licenses. The list includes hundreds of titles that were already licensed by other distributors for the US streaming market. Nozomi Entertainment CEO Sean Kleckner publicly tweeted at AnimeTube, "Why do you have listings for my titles on your Kickstarter's anime listing, anime licensing currently in discussion? We are not in discussion with you." The link to the titles has since been removed from the page. And in a now deleted tweet, AnimeTube responded to Kleckner, "Hi Sean," without the E, which is spelled SHAWNE, but they forgot the E. I guess it got autocorrected or whatever. Anyway, it says that we've contacted you on LinkedIn to discuss directly with you. So the founder, George Weller, the founder of AnimeTube, George Weller explained the discrepancy to ANN via email, saying that we are in discussion with Japanese anime production companies to license anime for streaming rights in order to be transparent, our intent was to let our backers know which anime we are trying to license. We provided a list of titles we were in discussion with Japanese anime companies to license for streaming. We contacted the Japanese anime companies who produce the anime to determine what we can license and who to contact. We were informed by the AJA that the proper routes are to contact the Japanese anime production companies first, and the confusion may lie with the fact that USA distributors expected us to contact them first, according to Weller. And Jacob Grady, the founder of Hentai Manga website and publisher, in which I am actually going to butcher on purpose just in case I get flagged for some reason, Faku, expressed doubts about the trustworthiness of the AnimeTube team, tweeting, "I've had run-ins with these guys before, total scam." Grady disputed Grady's claim, stating he had never encountered Grady before. "I've never heard of this person, nor have I ever contacted with him to my knowledge." Grady declined to elaborate on his previous alleged dealing with AnimeTube, stating legal restrictions. Apparently the campaign is also being criticized for using images for titles that they hadn't licensed or will never ever license, including Sword Art Online, Fullmetal Alchemists, Attack on Titan, and Death Note. And of course they were removed after with this article, when the article was posted on ANN, they said that even though they said it's still visible on their tweets leading up to the launch, and they also apparently had clips of Boruto on the homepage with the disclaimer: the depiction of products or images is for demonstration purposes only. So, the very fact that they've used those IP to sell their services prior to a licensing agreement makes it unbelievably unlikely that the rights holders would be willing to work with them now, even if there had been a chance before. According to Anime Limited marketing chief Miles Thomas, formerly from Crunchyroll, from his Twitter account. And apparently the Kickstarter, the AnimeTube Kickstarter reference the Association of Japanese Animators, which is the AJA, claiming that AnimeTube has been in discussions with the group. And Safakas commented, "My favorite thing about the Kickstarter is that they claim that they have a lead on licensing stuff because they had a meeting with AJA. But they are not a licensing. AJA is not a licensing organization. They are a trade group. They represent the contractor studios. The reference to the association, written incorrectly as the Association of Japanese Animators, so has since been removed from the page. Wow, this is getting weirder and weirder. Also, Weller expanded on AnimeTube's interactions with the AJA to Anime News Network, saying that we were told that AJA were impressed and happy with everything we presented, especially with our concepts for Aimi-chan. I'm guessing that was their mascot, which they have it in the Anime News Network article. And they gave us their full support in regards to streaming, licensing, and getting into the industry. Anything else is business confidential. I hope you understand we cannot divulge everything about our business dealings," Willer wrote. AnimeTube held an earlier Kickstarter campaign in June, and it raised approximately $63,000 in pledges, but failed to reach its $285,000 goal. The campaign relaunched with a goal of $50,000, but in adjusted rewards. But it says that the adjustment was considered on the first day of the original launch. So our team agreed that $50,000 is the minimum we would need for fees in the Philippine app. Features listed, not including the stretch goals. Therefore, we decided to close the campaign relaunch within 1 month. Both of the goals for each campaign are covered in our graphics, which break down the original the goal costs. In addition, we felt we needed an improved PR campaign. They also said that the campaign is also being run by GameFace LLC in Austin, Texas, where they describe themselves as a mobile applications development studio of over 10 years of mobile application development experience, and they've produced over a dozen mobile applications for Windows 10 and Xbox One platforms with an average of 4.7 out of 5 stars. And apparently one of their previous apps is called Soundhead. But anyway, so just to make it even weirder, before I conclude about what exactly happened after this initial posting, the app's name was also identical to an app which was pulled from the Microsoft Store last year, although the Kickstarter page makes no claim of association. But the previous app, which pulled anime video from multiple sources, including unauthorized YouTube uploads, were published by a company called Aeon Enterprises LLC. Both GameFace and Aeon Enterprises share the same registered address. Well, it confirmed that the team did previously publish the other app. Originally, we were streaming anime from YouTube through the YouTube API that we understood were authorized or otherwise considered unobjectionable by the rights holders. And also, they know that there were dozens of apps on all the major marketplaces streaming from the same YouTube channels. We never hosted any content on our own servers at any point in time, nor did we upload any other content on YouTube, since we moved towards licensing content directly from the rights holders in order to provide a more reliable service and ensure we aren't inadvertently providing unauthorized content. So that's all. The gist of everything that happened is that people were like, wait a minute, we never ever heard of this guy or any of these people, any of these companies. And then, like, you can't do this anymore in 2021. It was relevant, like, in 2009, but no, not now. They also, some few other things before we go on to exactly the follow-up of the initial story posting. They mentioned that on their FAQ page, the campaign claimed that anime streaming licenses do not cost, quote-unquote, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, insisting that anyone who is giving you details on how much streaming licenses cost is either not telling the truth or breaking an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And also, one other thing is that there's a comic creator by the name of Merriweather, who drew a sponsored comic for the Kickstarter, renounced their support for the project, tweeting that they have refunded sponsor money, and then basically pointed out to people that if you pledge to this campaign, you need to get your money back as soon as you can. So, moving forward to like a week later, the campaign has been suspended, but it's not the service's idea, but it was rather Kickstarter themselves that suspended the campaign. So, Anime News Network reached out to Kickstarter, in which they confirmed that they suspended the campaign as they were alerted to some possible violations of its rules regarding the accuracy of materials represented on the project page and elsewhere. And Kickstarter also told them that all suspensions are final and cannot be reversed. So, yeah. So much for that. The company also stated that since the Kickstarter campaign was suspended before the end date, backers have not been charged, so that's good. So the AnimeTube campaign made a statement on its Facebook page saying, we are aware of the campaign's suspension. We have 2 days to address the issue, and we're actively working to resolve the issue swiftly. The founder, George Willard, told Anime News Network that the response from Kickstarter to AnimeTube about the suspension was very unspecific and unclear. But how unclear is it? Like, I think it's pretty obvious from what I've said is that you keep changing information as soon as people point it out. So yeah, that's grounds for suspension there, dude. AnimeTube said it has asked Kickstarter for clarification and is waiting for their response, which, as far as of recording this, I haven't seen any more information about it. I don't think there's any more information about it, but I think it's like pretty much dead. It's dead in the water. And the Twitter account is also disabled. And Weller told Anime News Network that they actually disabled their Twitter account due to personal attacks, false accusations, threats, slander, and defamation, not based on facts, in parenthesis, to protect family members from further mental duress. They spelled distress wrong. They spelled it D-R-E-S-S. That Weller said was due to an industry professional calling its campaign a scam. So many typos in this. You gotta see the article. Like I said, they listed they're in the show notes for those that are curious. I want to see the discussion for it. But anyway, so there's also some other things that they mentioned. I'm trying not to read the rest of the article, but like it's up to you to read it and see exactly what's going on. But to end out the article, the news story, Weller also referenced the U.S. Justice Department's ongoing antitrust review of Sony's proposed $1.175 billion acquisition of Crunchyroll from AT&T, stating to ANN, there exists a possible monopoly and it's incredibly challenging for small companies to enter the marketplace. In addition, licensing is extremely complicated, especially for international distribution. It is extremely difficult to enter the marketplace as a small business, but we are doing our best to provide what we believe is a solution to the issues with the anime marketplace. Weller also stated he believes subscription-based business models will cause piracy to increase. And Anime 2 believes advertising on video on demand, or AVOD, is the best business model for the industry to stop proliferation of anime piracy. Okay, so I know this is kind of a gray area. And another recording project I mentioned, which y'all haven't heard yet, is that one show that's on Netflix is an anime series called Carol and Tuesday, which I watch and I totally recommend, by the way, which was also recommended at the beginning of July for your recommended viewing for the 4th weekend, if fireworks isn't your thing, or if you're still social distancing or whatever, or any time of the year. It doesn't have to be the 4th of July weekend. So Carol and Tuesday, when it came on the air in 2019, it was airing on Netflix first in Japan, but it was on a weekly basis. And on Netflix in the US, where it all started, the company that is, their business model is basically having all the shows recorded, filmed or whatever, and they'll just put it out just like that, like all in batch. So like Stranger Things. So like Stranger Things, you get all the episodes that are available for that one season. Black Mirror, all the episodes available just like that. And there's pretty much almost every show except for one show I actually watched. It's not anime related, but it was a show I watched that was unfortunately canceled after one season. Was the Joel McHale show, which is basically the same model as a show called The Soup, for those that are just as old as I am. That show was released on a weekly basis. And I think there are a few other shows on Netflix that are released on a weekly basis, but that was like one of the very few shows that I'm aware of, at least, that actually went out of their way to watch. But it feels like that Netflix were more interested in releasing episodes, all at once, at least in the US. So, of course, Netflix Japan, they were fine with releasing episodes once a week. But no, we had to wait like half a year, if not maybe a full year, before we even saw Carol and Tuesday. So when it was like almost done in Japan, we got like the first half of the show. So it's a 25 episode anime series. So we got the first 12 episodes out like towards the end of the series. And then the series ended in Japan and we haven't even gotten the second half yet. But it wasn't until like, I think half a year later that we got the second half. So yeah. But I kept hearing about it on Twitter at the time when I saw the artwork and the story, heard what the story was about, which is about music, and it's also made by the same person, the director of Cowboy Bebop, Shinichiro Watanabe. And I'm like, I want to see this show. And I tried to look it up. Where is it? When is it coming to Netflix in the US? So they said, no, it's not out yet. So the only way you could watch it was, guess what? Through, BitTorrent or whatever site, I guess like Kiss Anime or whatever knock-off site of Kiss Anime. But yeah, so the only way to watch it was to do it the old-fashioned way, and by old-fashioned way I mean illegal downloads. And I don't mean by VHS tapes mailed to you like, like back in the day, way back in the day. But yeah, so that was like the only I guess issue I found was that Netflix is missing out, and they're gonna just basically wait until the show's in its completion to release it in full. But I think they've learned from their mistakes, because I think pretty much like all the I think every single anime series have been released, I think they release it on the same day, or at least in the same time frame. And I don't know if I gotta check that. I don't know if Hathaway's both. No, that's probably just in the U.S. Because yeah, it wouldn't be fair if they released it in Japan while still in theaters, and all that. So yeah, I can kind of see that. So that was actually good on Netflix's move to actually make up for that, instead of counting on downloaders, illegal downloaders, to actually steal some potential money opportunities. But yeah, that was like one annoyance I found. So I guess if you want to talk about like a pay, like what other kind of pay models there is, like, I actually have no problem paying for anime. Actually, I think like nowadays I don't even want to, like, if you can find a website, I don't even want to like watch it. Now, like, so let's see, I do pay for FFXIV. So FFXIV I pay for, they do have like obscure anime series. Oh yeah, by the way, so FFXIV is actually owned by Crunchyroll. It is a Crunchyroll product, and they do have their library shared with FFXIV, but also FFXIV also has High Dive, which in itself is a separate anime streaming service. So if you want to pay for both Crunchyroll and High Dive, that's also your best bet is getting a FFXIV subscription. So I like that FFXIV is actually going out of the way and putting obscure anime shows on there. And also there's of course, you got, besides Netflix, you also got Amazon. So Amazon has quite a handful of anime on there. Also, yeah, it's just pretty much like I can think of almost every single streaming service that has all the anime I ever watched. Also, don't forget Funimation. So Funimation also has it. So I think as long, like, for some show, like from some services, as long as they keep the price low, I think that's a good deal, because for FFXIV it's $10 a month, but you get 2 services for the price of 1. And Funimation, I know, like, Funimation, like, it's also, I think it's like $7, $8 a month, but there's gonna be a time where they're gonna go up on a raise, and it happens. And the thing is, the good thing about it is that at least it's not like you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for these services, like, I don't know, cable. So, like, look at YouTube TV and then Hulu. They're at least like $50. Like, no, that's unacceptable. I might as well get a cable subscription for that. But anyway, I think I've talked about this way too long, but like, this was wild. So I kind of anticipated that this would be long. So I apologize for that. But yeah, there's just so much to talk about here. So like, I'm curious to see what you think about this whole thing. So whether, talk about it in this tweet, promote an episode or whatever, it's really crazy. So I've talked about it way too long. But yeah, so yeah, there's that. So AnimeTube is no longer a thing. So oh well. So yeah, I think Crunchyroll, no one can overtake Crunchyroll and what they how they came to be. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep an eye on them in case they do anything weird between now and the next episode. But anyway, just moving on to our next story. Before we get into, I have a feeling it's gonna be another long, drawn out conversation about something else. Anyway, so next article is about MAPPA. And MAPPA, for those that hope I pronounced that right, but they are responsible for about several Netflix anime series, including the most recent Chainsaw Man. And they also, one of the people involved worked on Zombieland Saga Revenge. But anyway, the article is about the animator pay rates. So people were accusing that MAPPA, are underpaying their employees, in which they released a statement to address the discussions about that. Or rather their unannounced production, saying that the information has been shared and discussed in ways that invite misunderstanding. MAPPA claimed that it has never offered unreasonable compensation to creators, a term used in this context to refer to an anime's creative staff, including animators, but offered rates that are fair, relative to the budget of the project, whether in current or past projects. It also claimed that it has never forced or coerced creators to work. Animator Ichi asserted earlier this month, in July, that MAPPA was offering several severely low rates for animators in the company working on a Netflix anime, with a MAPPA producer supposedly offering 3,800 yen or $34 in US dollars per cut. Ichi laid blame on Netflix for such low rates, saying that for all the exorbitant amount of capital of Netflix, is a problem that they started to place orders with such low rates. There is a possibility that the prices are even lower than a TV series, in which Ichi noted that the unit price per cut for television animation tends to be at 3,800 or 7,000 yen. However, MAPPA said in a statement that on Wednesday that the anime was not a project offered by quote-unquote major platform, but the latest work is an existing TV series, in which one was already being planned, and MAPPA offered the upcoming anime for distribution to a major platform, with production beginning after the sale price, and then the budget of the show was finalized. Back in May, a freelancer tweeted that they left MAPPA due to the factory-like conditions. He criticized MAPPA's decision to work on 4 shows at the same time instead of properly training his team so that such corrections wouldn't be necessary, and said, as far as I can tell, about 80% of employees had similar complaints at the time. And images of MAPPA's new studio annex building were publicly released on the Architecture Media site Architecture Photo on Monday, as of this article's posting. According to the architects, the desk materials and open space and allowance were designed with the intention to improve the workspace environment. So I'm guessing that they were like aware of the issues and trying to make up for it, or I don't know. But it's interesting. I'm trying to remember I don't think I've ever watched anything produced by MAPPA, and I've heard a whole lot about Chainsaw Man because I know that was on Twitter not too long ago. And people were like, "Oh my god, this is so interesting," or rather, they were like, I don't think so. And of course, MAPPA's name was all over it before this came out. So, like, I want to, like, I need to find a show, or rather go see if I've ever watched any of their shows, and see if, maybe the quality, like, look at the quality of it and say, like, yeah, it feels like that doesn't feel like they've put their all into it. And, based on the design, and I hate judging like that, because I know, like, I guess that happens, like, when you don't get paid enough, the quality shows, but when you get paid enough, you're like, yes, I can do this. That kind of unfortunately works, but they might be like a really good show and they will probably pay like basically peanuts for it. So like, I'm like really curious as to that. So I'm like, that's interesting. This has been an interesting article. So there you are. So right now they're working on Chainsaw Man, and then Ichi worked on as an animator director on the Zombieland Saga Revenge. So I need to check those out and see what the hype of Chainsaw Man is all about. Our last news story of the anime segment they're not really anime related, but it's more manga related. So last week, Viz on their Twitter account made a series of tweets announcing their upcoming manga releases for fall 2021 and spring 22 releases. So they're not all of it manga, but most of it's also art books, which includes a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure art book from the mangaka Araki. But here are some that I picked. It's a long article, but I picked a handful of it just to talk about for the podcast. But if you're curious as to what they announced, Anime News Network reported this, and the link to their article will be posted in the show notes on centakumedia.com for the post focusing on this episode. But here are some of the releases coming out in the spring of 2022, and one of them includes the Dragon Quest, the manga Adventure of Dai, and the creators for this series is Riku Sanjo, I had no relation, and Koji Inada. And the summary for this is, with the help of his friends, Dai will set out on a grand adventure to become the hero he was meant to be in the first arc of the legendary adventure series set in the world of Dragon Quest. So for the second manga announced for next year is the Alice in Borderland manga created by Haro Aso. The summary is that Ryohei is sick of the world, but his new world has a sick joke in store for him. It's a game, and the only way to survive is to play. The next manga is Sakamoto Days. It's created by Yuto Suzuki. Things are about to get super inconvenient for convenience store owner Taro Sakamoto when his past as a legendary assassin catches up to him. Interesting. Next is Came the Mirror and Other Tales manga, which is by Rumiko Takahashi of Inuyasha and Ranma Half and Yurusei Yatsura fame. So these are a collection of short stories which is Came the Mirror and Other Tales, plus a rare autobiographical tale about the mangaka's lifelong love for manga. And lastly, this title is not, well, I'm guessing it's a faithful manga iteration of our beloved Marvel property, Deadpool. And this is called the Deadpool Samurai manga, created by Sanshiro Kasama, who's the writer, and Hikaru Usugi, who's the artist. And the summary for this is that Deadpool moves to Tokyo and encounters just about every kind of shonen trope you can think of. Chaos and humor collide in Deadpool Samurai, which comes out in spring of 2022. So these are some of the titles you can expect next year, and then some. So there are like several that are coming out this year, but mostly they're coming out for next year. So be sure to check that out for those that are fans of manga. And I don't talk about manga enough, and I hate that I don't talk about manga enough. And that used to be my thing, but no, lately, pretty much for the past several years, it's been more anime. Like, I don't have the patience for manga anymore, except if it's like a show, like a series, like I'm very, very familiar with, which includes Dragon Ball Super. That's like the only manga I read, and I read that with my FFXIV Media app, and this is the Shonen Jump. No, not Shonen Jump, but the FFXIV Media manga subscription, which is like a few bucks a month. It's not bad. So as long as it's not like $10 a month, I can swing that, right? So that's not gonna cause any piracy issues, right? I mean, people still do it anyway, but I prefer to support when I can. Anyway, so that's so this ends the anime news segment, but this also goes into this continues the manga unintentional manga segment, but also beginning of the video game segment. And so it's actually two stories in one here. So, for those that are fans of Fullmetal Alchemists, this year marks the 20th anniversary of when the manga first launched. And recently there was a live stream event for celebrating the 20th anniversary, where it was announced that the original manga is inspiring a new smartphone game. And of course, Square Enix is behind it, since they were the publishers of the Shonen Gangan book, the manga scene that's kind of like a Shonen Jump. So they are working on the game, but they will provide more details in later this winter, which is winter 2021. So the August issue of Shonen Gangan already highlighted some of the commemorations of the anniversary, including a rerun of the previous art exhibition for the franchise in Tokyo and Osaka this winter and in next spring, respectively. Other commemorations include the preparation of a 20th anniversary book for the franchise, free streaming of the first 3 Brotherhood anime episodes on YouTube, upcoming digital releases of Araka's one-shot works, a free digital release of the first volume of the manga for limited time in a collaboration cafe next year. And also, Hiromu Arakawa is launching a new manga series in monthly Shonen Gangan soon. And actually, there was an announcement. I don't know. She is working on a new one. I thought they had a title of it, but I guess I must be like reading 2 different things. I don't know. But yeah, she is working on a new manga series, and she previously worked on Silver Spoon following the conclusion of Fullmetal Alchemists. And also, Yeah, so of course, this for those that are out of the loop. So Fullmetal Alchemists, the first anime started in 2003, but they also came back with Brotherhood in 2009, which was, I think, between the two. I love both series, but I think Brotherhood was my favorite because it was like really, really messed up in a way. I don't know. I enjoyed it more than I did the manga. Actually, I read the manga religiously, and then when that came out and it caught up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this now. But at the time, things were different. I actually preferred anime for various reasons I'm not going to explain because I don't want to cause any drama. Anyway, that is it for that news. So now we're actually getting to proper gaming news. So this one is going to be kind of long, and I'm trying to get through it. I'm pretty sure this episode's going to be well over an hour long, and we're already like in a 40-minute mark. But so for video game news, it's actually Final Fantasy related, and it's actually mostly 14 related. So, I'm tried to not, I guess, go in too much into it, and I was trying to save this for another special episode down the line, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I need to make it happen at some point. But just to keep you all in a loop, and since I haven't talked about it since between when it was announced and up until, 4 episodes, now 5 episodes ago with the podcast, haven't been able to, geek out about it. But, so this news is about the Endwalker expansion pack that's coming out in November. So, back in June, or was it May? May. I think it was in May. But there was the Fan Fest event. So Final Fantasy XIV has a fan festival. Pretty much for the last, 4 years since 14 became a serious deal. So they decided to have these events centered around upcoming big content for the games, and it's usually around when the expansion packs come out. So I think their first one was probably right before Heavensward came out, and I'm guessing they didn't really think much about it, but it got kind of a big deal. And this past year, or rather last year, could have been a big deal if it weren't for the coronavirus situation. But they held the FanFest digitally this year, which was broadcast on Nico Nico Doga, YouTube and Twitch, in which I watched it on Twitch, and I really enjoyed myself. Although I didn't watch the full thing, although I watched clips of it afterwards. But of course, everyone was interested in the beginning of the stream where we finally saw the full trailer for Endwalker, and we got juicy details of what's coming up. So that I'm going to give a rundown on, since I haven't mentioned it in previous episodes. So the Endwalker expansion pack will talk about content that will put it into the events of the story that we're in now, and the patch that follows the end of the expansion will introduce a new storyline. And also, there are 2 new jobs, or classes rather, that are being introduced, which is Sage and Reaper. So Reaper wasn't revealed into the Fan Fest. Sage was revealed earlier in the year, and then. Yeah, for Reaper, though, people were really excited about that, but they don't know where it's going to come in at. I guess as far as the story, people were skeptical of, I wonder who's going to be the rep of the Reaper class, because we know that one of the main characters of 14 reps the Sage class, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm pretty sure y'all know who that listening over familiar with 14 knows very well who it is, but I don't want to spoil it for those that are still playing if they are listening to this. So yeah, we got that, and when we're getting some new areas, we got some glimpse of some new areas we'll be visiting, and also some more details such as the removal of belts. So we won't have belts anymore after the release of the expansion. So if you all hoarding belts, I think now's a good time to rethink your strategies. But because of the belts being removed, we're also getting more storage space for some of our gear, so that's actually really good. And then also there was some other technical mumble jumble they released concerning about the, I guess, because we were getting the level cap increase from 80 to 90, I guess, and also changing some things, changing the way things work, I guess, to make it, even with the level cap increase. So, you expect things to be easier, but I'm thinking they're still kind of making it a little either harder or whatever, from what I'm trying to understand. And, yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, also the biggest thing, which is what I'm going to go into, is that they're also including the male Fiera. So for those that are familiar with Final Fantasy XII, we've always ever known that there were female Fiera because, Fran, who's the representative of Fieras, Yeah, they're all female because of the lore, but now we get male Fieras, and that was like one of the biggest things out of the whole reveal between both the reveal event and the fan fest itself. And also, with the 14-hour live stream of the letter from the producer that they have, like, I don't know, I think like every quarter or whatever, they revealed that the benchmark program was going to be released, or rather it is released as of recording, that is free to download. And basically benchmark programs, when you download it, it runs a series of like in-game renders of a lot of the content going on, like fighting and just, the scenic views of parts of the game to test whether your system can handle it or not. So I, of course, ran it a couple of times, and I got, if I can run a game fine as it is, like, I'm set for Endwalker. So also with that, with the male Fieras, you can also create your Fiera now. So that way when you get Endwalker installed and registered, as soon as it's released, and also early access is on November 19th, where it comes out on November 23rd, you can have your Fiera ready to use for either a new character, or you can use the Flask of Fantasia to convert your existing character to the Fiera you chose. So I'm really excited about that. I already got mine chose. And also some other exciting things concerning 14. So because of all the build-up so far this year, going towards Endwalker, and I guess just the pandemic to creating a new interest for the game, oh, sorry. My glasses just hit the mic, so I don't know if I can edit that out. So because of all this happening, Steam, where you can buy the game right now, had over 48,000 concurrent players. And I think the reason why is because I mentioned this in the previous episode when I was talking about the whole Twitch controversy concerning the 14 collaboration event for the Fat Black Chocobo, is that a prominent WoW streamer who goes by the name of Asmongold streamed the game for the first time, because he's been always played WoW, but he's never played 14 before up until this month. And because of that, he's basically caused the 14 category, Final Fantasy 14 category, in the top 10 on Twitch. And of course, because of, not many people like him, and I think there's a reason why, but I'm not going to elaborate because I don't want to cause any unnecessary drama. Is that apparently because of, he announced the server he played on, and because of it, a whole bunch of players logged in and tried to like block him, or what they call it, stream sniping, which basically made the game unplayable for him. So yeah, don't do that. That's called stream sniping. So be careful not to do that to anyone else. But I rather need to prevent yourself from that having happened to you. But I think because of him playing, people are like are interested in the game as well, in which this action, apparently you couldn't download Final Fantasy XIV if you've never bought it before. So if you went to Square Enix website, they were sold out of the digital complete edition copies. And like, how does that happen? How do you sell out of a digital game? So I'm guessing because of the server load of people buying the game, it crashed the server. So I'm guessing that's probably why they switched to sold out. And because of that, you had to put in your email address to be notified of when it comes back up. But the complete edition in particular completes everything. So you got A Realm Reborn and the latest expansion pack, in which you also get the previous expansion packs as well. So you get everything, not including Endwalker. You still have to buy Endwalker or pre-order it, which is also $60. But if you so basically if you buy both games and pre-order Endwalker, it's $120. But if you're convinced that you want to play it, I guarantee you it's the best game ever. Like, okay, the story's a little bit of the Dragon and Realm Reborn, but it picks up, and like, oh my god, I love it. I'm like really excited to see what happens next. But yeah, so I think that's all the information I have on Final Fantasy XIV now, and I'm sorry if I spoke too fast, but that's how excited I am about it. So I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can as well, because I went went a little too long on that one story about the anime tube story, but I really wanted to talk about that because it's just like really crazy, right? But that is it for 14 news, but I'm not quite done yet. And even though I'm talking about 14, this also goes into 16 news, which I know I'm skipping a number because, 15, but 15 is no longer relevant. So, for those that are out of the loop, Naoki Yoshida, who's also the producer of Final Fantasy XIV, he's also working on Final Fantasy XVI, in which we finally got some information around like end of last year, early this year. And by the way, he goes by Yoshi P, for those that are like really into Final Fantasy XIV. But during this letter from the producer event for Final Fantasy XIV, he mentioned a little bit of news of 16, in which he basically says we're not getting any more news for 16 this year, not even for Tokyo Game Show, and that's why we didn't hear anything about it for E3. But I think E3 was just a disappointment all around, whether Square Enix disappointed or not with that whole Final Fantasy Origin news. And anyway, so basically Yoshi P, he's basically saying that because he's not going to have anything revealed for Tokyo Game Show, it's very likely, from what he wants to do, is to basically have a big event surrounding Final Fantasy 16, where you can basically buy the game in like soon instead of like a year later from the announcement. So like if it were announced at the Tokyo Game Show, we probably won't be able to play it until like, I don't know, winter 2022. And actually not winter 2022, which will be soon. 2023, I'm sorry, like close to 2023 if anything, but it's probably the case anyway. But here's something important they mentioned, is that they are almost done with the English dub, and usually when that happens, that means the game is like 80% done. So that's like very, very exciting that they're almost done with the English dub. So like, basically, Yoshi P is saying he doesn't like drip-fed news concerning stuff like that, in which I very, very, very agree with him on that, and I think that needs to stop. So I'm like actually really like excited about Final Fantasy 16, because considering I guess he was put in charge of Final Fantasy 16 because apparently he has like a good marketing success. I don't know if he's involved with most of the marketing, but I can see where he's coming from, because we've had these big events surrounding Final Fantasy XIV, and then of course they've created all this buzz for even people that don't even play 14 or not even a Final Fantasy game before. So I'm like really excited that he's going to have something like this in the future. So yes, of course, I'll keep you all posted when we get some more Final Fantasy 16 news, which probably won't be for a while, but I am actually looking forward to it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure he might do like a big like live stream event for it too, like, not even at E3 or TGS, but I'm sure that when that comes, it'll probably release like, I don't know, in 3 months or so. So I imagine that, let's say if Yoshida was going to do something, make an announcement concerning Final Fantasy 16, he might do it like, I don't know, maybe in November, because that will actually be around the time when Endwalker comes out. But if I remember correctly, Square Enix's fiscal year begins in March, I think, because in the past, is from paying attention to the release of Final Fantasy XIII, they said, oh, it's going to be released like around their fiscal year, like the end of, or the beginning of the fiscal year, which was in March. So that's probably when the game's going to come out. So it probably won't be until like next April or so. So I can imagine that he might have some kind of big event like in January or so. But I don't know. Again, predictions are fun. So if you have a different prediction, I'm curious to see what, when he would announce it. But like, I don't know. Until then, all we can do is just wait. You've listened to the podcast. Now read a blog. Check out the rest of Centaku Media, which features news, reviews, and observations written with a unique approach, catering to like-minded fans of anime and related subcultures. We love anime, but we also share beyond, because we're in the center of other otaku media. If this is your mood, please follow along. Check out Centaku Media in the link of the show page, or go to centakumedia.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Centaku Media. now that we're done with gaming news, we are now at the last segment of the show where we talk about entertainment and other interest stories. So entertainment, of course, includes J-pop and K-pop as our scope of the Centaku Media brand, but I think the stories that I have here are actually mostly aimed towards J-pop this time, Japanese music in particular, including one that could have been an anime, a news story, but I couldn't fit it into that category for this episode, but it actually works because it features a well-known Japanese band. But you will get to that, but the first one I wanted to talk about is actually something I've touched on in a previous episode as well as in a blog post on centakumedia.com, is that a well-known record label that you may know of, which is Johnny's and Associates, or Johnny and Associates. I say Johnny's. People call them Johnny's, but it is, I guess, a formal name of their label is called Johnny and Associates, which was founded by Johnny Kitagawa in the 60s. And for those that are also out of the loop, Johnny Kitagawa passed away in 2019. And what was interesting, and again at the same time not so interesting due to the context behind it, is that when Johnny Kitagawa passed away, people were saying good riddance, and you gotta wonder why are they saying this. Apparently it was like all across the board, and come to find out, apparently if you dig deep enough, he's known for not treating his idols well enough. And I know this is probably no different than the K-pop industry, but apparently, I don't know, like, I'm guessing the Japanese, way of things. I don't want to, like, say anything negative, but I'm guessing, I guess it's like the same in the entertainment industry, but I'm guessing they probably did something, but they're denying it. But again, same goes for SM Entertainment and for the K-pop industry. That whole situation concerning DBSK. 3 of the members had their contracts canceled, and because of that, they formed their own group, but they're also banned from TV shows because SM said so. But I have to research the extent of the Johnny's issue, but in particular, what's weird is that they do not have, like, photos, or at least up until now, they haven't had photos readily available of their members of these idol groups. And one thing in particular I mentioned in one of my blog posts is that Johnny's is so serious about, a lot of things, is that if you were to buy a digital version of a magazine, let's say Anan, for example, which actually happened, a huge fan of SMOP, one of their members, I think it was, I want to say Kimura, I think it was Kimura, they bought a digital copy of Anan, and when they opened it, come to find out that everything that was featuring that one artist was blank. So yeah, that's how much power they have over their artists because of that. But I think it was to protect the image of their idols, because fans can be crazy. So I'm guessing they're trying not to fall into that sasaeng fan hole like in South Korea, but you all gonna have crazy fans everywhere, y'all. So, in particular, Johnny's and Associates were also behind the times because I think even now, I guess with the exception of Arashi, a lot of their catalog is not available for streaming, and not even in Japan. So, like on Spotify, if you want to look up a SMOP song, on Spotify, you're not gonna find it anywhere, not even in Japan on the Japanese site, at least not now. But hopefully that will change very soon, because with that being said, they launched their English language Twitter account, which you can find at Johnny's, which launched on June 1st, exactly on June 1st. I meant to talk about this earlier, but I totally forgot it in my catch-up of the previous content. But, so yes, if you go to at Johnny's, they have their first post that features a short video of, I guess, their previous concerts, all the fans and lights, everything, that you see at a boy band concert, especially those that have Johnny's level concerts. But of course all that was pre-pandemic, but just to give you an idea of what to expect. So their Twitter account has been very active. They basically post English translations of, I guess, everything that's happening on their Japanese Twitter account and then some. But yeah, so because of that, it seems like there's a tide of change on the way. The article that I'm reading from Tokyo Hive, they're saying that it seems that they're like, trying to make change for the better as far as their global fans are concerned, especially with them, obviously launching an English language Twitter account. So the article mentioned that Johnny Kitagawa passed in 2019, but they said there's a new CEO, which is Johnny's niece and the company veteran Julie K. Fujishima, and also the vice president is Takisawa Hideaki, who's also a former artist of Johnny's. So it seems like they're making an effort to, bring, I guess, the heart of the J-pop scene to other parts of the world, especially in the US, because, of course, you got probably the biggest fan base in the US, if anything, and, of course, the UK. Pretty much anywhere outside of Japan, you're going to have a huge fan base. So, oh yeah, and also give you an idea of what other artists that Johnny's houses. They have Katun and Arashi. I already mentioned Arashi, and I think it's Kiss My Foot. I think that's how they pronounce it. I think that's like they have several of them. They also have subunits of a lot of these groups as well, and they have sub-labels as well. I think they have they have Johnny's Juniors, which I think is supposed to be like a little circle featuring, I guess, up-and-coming actors that's associated with Johnny's. I guess kind of like J-pop. I mean, not J-pop, but K-pop. Anyway, because, even YG and SM and JYP, they have not just music artists, but they also have, comedians and actors signed under these agencies, too. So I'm guessing that's what they're trying to go for. So, yeah, that's how big Johnny's is. And they are missing out probably, 15 years of, opportunities, because, K-pop is, ahead of its game, because, you got almost every single K-pop artist you can think of, even the ones that are obscure that you can listen to on Spotify. They even have Spotify in Korea now, even though, that's also a gray area, too, for that. But that's in another episode. But yeah, Japan is way behind, but now, even after I posted that article about the difference between the Japanese and Korean, availability of a lot of, imports, export entertainment between the two countries. A lot of Sony Entertainment's catalog were not available, not even on the Japanese site, but I think in the past year they actually finally added some artists. So if you go on Spotify right now, and even on Apple Music, if you want to own the song in question, you can find Toshinobu Kubota's backlog of songs. I recommend him. He's one of those artists that you listen to in that were sampled in a lot of vaporwave and future funk songs, but he's, I guess, also the face of city pop too. If you think about city pop when it comes to old Japanese music from the 80s, and also there's they finally have Maria Takeuchi's Plastic Love on there too, which is the hallmark of city pop. So those are one of the two artists I recommend, Toshinobu Kubota and Maria Takeuchi. So I recommend those, Plastic Love, and I guess the first 3 albums of Kubota I recommend. So anyway, I went off on a little tangent, but yeah, so that's to give you an idea of what Johnny's is about. It seems like they are paying attention, and hopefully it won't be too much longer until we get to see more content from them. But also, to add on to this, there's actually 2 news stories concerning Johnny. So the second one is that they're partnering with a service called Nyokio, which is one of those proxy shipping services that you might be familiar with. I think Tenso is one of them. I haven't personally used one yet, but I've heard of them, and I've been curious to use one, but I just haven't been able, I haven't pinpointed exactly what I want yet from Japan, especially nowadays with the pandemic going on. But they are partnering with the site that will ship official idol goods outside of Japan, because if you do it inside Japan, like if you, let's say, just do it without a proxy, you have to have a Japanese credit card, or rather a credit card with a Japanese address assigned to it. And chances are they won't ship outside of Japan, but there are some like handful of websites, Japanese services that will ship overseas, but it's a lot easier to do a proxy service, but you also have to pay fees and also, I guess, extra shipping for that. Because what they'll do is that you order from this website, tell them what you want, and then they'll try to get it for you. And when they get it, you just pay them and then the cost of the item, and then they'll ship it to you. So yeah, again, proxy service. So that's actually a really good idea. But anyway, this service is Neokyo. They're offering not just the service, not in just English, but also doing it in Spanish, French, Chinese, and also with the Indonesian and Tagalog versions in the works. So yeah, so you basically when you order anything from Neokyo, from Johnny's, you can also have the option of sharing your purchase with the world using the hashtag MyJohnny'sGoods. And also, you can buy individual idol merchandise as well. I guess the members of the group. So if you want, like, I don't know if they still, I mean, they're not a band anymore. So like Smob, actually, I really like Smob. I like a lot of earlier songs from the early 2000s. But if you want anything of Takuya Kimura, I'm pretty sure he'd be out of luck. But yeah, so like if you wanted anything from him, you could buy it. But I don't know if they even have it, because he's not even under them, or at least not part of SMOP anymore, so it's irrelevant. But I mean, no offense to anyone, but I mean, I wonder if they even have that. They also mentioned that you can also snap up merchandise from King and Prince, which is their newer boy group under the Johnny's Universe label. And you can buy that album that's coming out on the 21st. And you have until September 30th to buy these from Neokyo. So there you go. So if you are interested in any of these, or know someone that is a big fan of Johnny's, be sure to let them know about this, because it's actually a good idea, especially if they're like actually making an effort to do something outside of Japan. It's really exciting, and I hope to see more from them soon. And of course, I will be talking about it as soon as something significant happens. So I wish the best of luck to Johnny's, and also the fans. Keep them coming. So that concludes Johnny's stuff. Actually, I said 2 articles, so actually I do have 2 full articles left, but all that was Johnny's related, so that was big. And this episode's long enough as it is, but it is what it is, but we're almost done. So the next news is of Larkin Ciel. So they are contributing a new theme song, an opening theme song for the anime Eden Zero. So the official website for the anime of Hiro Mashima's manga revealed that Larkin Ciel will be performing the opening theme Forever. And the episode already came out, but there it is. So if you are curious to know who it is, they performed it. And I haven't watched the anime myself, but it has fairy tale vibes to it, and I think it is even involved with the staff of Fairy Tail, which I think it is, which is Shinji Ichihara, and he's also involved with Log Horizon as well. And also, Sayuri is performing the second ending theme song, Sakai no Himitsu, which means Secret of the World. And the anime came out on April 10th of this year, and in Japan it premiered on Netflix and on Hulu on April 10th. And it's also streaming on other services in Japan, but will stream outside of Netflix on August 26th. So if you are interested, be sure to check it out on August 26th. And also, a few other people that are involved with the anime. Like I said, Shinji Ichihara, he's the chief director of the anime at JC staff. And then also got Yushi Suzuki, who's the episode director from the 3rd season of Fairy Tail, who is directing the anime. And we got Mitsutaka Hirota, who was previously involved with Soi's Wild and Rent a Girlfriend, who was overseeing and writing the series scripts, and Yurika Sako, who was the key animator, and Food Wars, the Third Plate, who's the character designer of the animation of the show. So also, if you want to check out the manga, Kodansha is publishing the manga in English, digitally, and in print. So just to get an idea what the story is about, is says at Granville Kingdom, an abandoned amusement park, Shiki has lived his entire life among machines, but one day Rebecca and her cat companion Happy appear at the park's front gates. Little do these newcomers know that this is the first human contact Granville has had in 100 years. As Shiki stumbles his way into making new friends, his former neighbors stir at an opportunity for a robo-rebellion, and when his old homeland becomes too dangerous, Shiki must join Rebecca and Happy on their spaceship to escape the boundless cosmos. Mashima, a Fairy Tail and Rave Master, launched a manga and weekly shonen magazine in 2018. So is it direct involved with Fairy Tail at all? I mean, because yeah, I guess if it's the same manga, the mangaka, then it has to be. Because Happy is a character in Fairy Tail, right? Like, so don't hurt me, but I've never watched Fairy Tail, so I'm not entirely sure on that, but I'm pretty sure it's some kind of reference to that show. So, yeah, Fairy Tail's like one of the big three, I guess, from like a few years ago before it ended that I skipped out on. So, so I apologize for that, but I know, like, it's got so little time and so much anime, it's hard to keep up with everything. So there you go. So if you are interested in checking out that anime, be sure to check it out on August 26th, and Lark and Seal, be sure to check out their song Forever. Alright, so last news story of this episode is about an idol singer. This is, I think, from an indie idol group in Japan, and one of the members is resigning. Well, not really resigning. I guess if they resign and pretty much say, I'm done, bye, without warning. But rather, I guess they're withdrawing from the group, I guess, to make it nicer. But for the reason is that because she's worried about nasty otaku. Now, this is otaku in a negative sense. When I talk about what I'm about to talk about from the article that was published on Rocket News. The idol singer Iroha Tanaka announced that she will be leaving Hiroshima-based idol group Plank Stars in the fall, and the reason is that because of the gross fans. And the article, to quote them, becoming an idol is pretty much guaranteeing you that you'll come into some degree of contact with obsessive fans, which is kind of what I was talking about concerning Johnny's. It's really the otaku interests and perceived audience / performer interaction that set the idol industry apart from the rest of the Japanese music sector. So, for the fan base of Plunk Stars, though, it's a unique brand of unusual, as the underground / indie idol group's performances are a mix of idol dance routines and punk-style mosh pits, with plenty of crowd surfing thrown in for good measure. So if you check out the article, which will be posted in the show notes on the website, on centakumedia.com, you can see a Twitter clip of fans being crowd surfed through. And by the way, this was, I believe, this year. So just think about that. It's this year, 2021, with everything going on. I'm like, okay. unless it was an old video from before the pandemic. But anyway. Actually, I was reading this again. There was actually some stuff that happened this year. Okay, so one of the things they mentioned in the article is that while some idol groups play a sexy image with revealing costumes, for the Plank Stars, at their concerts, the fans are likely to show off exposed flesh. So there were like 24 fans from a show this past May that had no shirts on. They had no shirts. So I'm like, okay. But also the article mentioned that this doesn't appear to be a case of rowdy fans, ironically going against the grain of Plank Star's wholesome, demure sensibilities either. And so yeah, Plank Stars, of course, you know, well, you don't know until I'm about to say what I'm about to say. I'm gonna have to change it a little bit, but of course, when you think of idol groups, you think of, you know, like AKB48, QC, It's, or sexy. But no, I think they're more of, I guess, goth, punk rock, of course. Like they have punk style mosh pits at their concerts, but the lyrics in one of the videos that's in the article, the lyrics start off with an assortment of slang terms for breasts, the female fun zone and the male fun zone. Let's think about what those words are. But while the group Plank Star slinks into the edgy image, it's a little much for Iroha Tanaka. So in June, the group announced that she'll be going into hiatus. But I think it sounds like she's just done. But this says that her comment is that the style of our concert is filthy and nasty, and it's psychologically impossible for me to do it anymore. And I've come to feel the otaku are nasty to the same extent, and I have reached my mental limit. So, one other, just to give you an idea of how crazy these concerts are, also they posted a picture from one of their concerts that the venue floor being covered with fish guts, watermelon rinds, shampoo, and skin lotion. Okay, so I don't blame her for leaving. So why? But anyway, so the group and Tanaka have announced that her hiatus will be continuing to the end of August. So, she'll be coming back, but no, she said she said that after skipping her 2 previously planned summer appearances, she'll be retiring from the group in September. So yeah, she is done with the group. So like I said, I don't blame her. I don't blame her for that. I'm like, yeah, that's a little much. I'm surprised they even allow this, especially if you are having a concert in the middle of a pandemic. And as of recording this, Japan is put back in a state of emergency, and the Olympics is just around the corner. So yeah, think about that. But one of her words that she tweeted in regards to retiring from the group, the time I spent with everyone in Plankstarter was fun, Tanaka tweeted, and I'm sorry that things turned out this way. I can't really put my feelings into words very well, but thank you. Her final time to take the stage is scheduled for September 19th, and she adds, for those of you who have time to stop by, I'd like to take the chance to say goodbye. So, yes, I don't blame her for leaving after witnessing that. Like I said, I'm surprised they even allow that. But it's also said that she has to leave. But again, like I said, if she can't take it anymore, you have to quit. There's a line. There's a line, and sometimes it just gets crossed. Because I've been in that situation too. You want to stay in a job, but sometimes it's just not worth it. It's, when it comes to a toxic environment, whether it's the people or just, literally toxic, entities, and whatever reason. So yeah, we wish Tanaka Iroha the best, and also be sure to check out Plank Stars if you have any interest in them. Just be clean if you ever decide to go to any of their concerts, or just stay away from their concerts if you don't want to have to walk around in fish guts and lotion. So that's an interesting combination. But anyway, I am rambling on, so now is the time to conclude this episode of the podcast. So one more news story I would like to report on, and this is more of a in memoriam concerning the recent manga author that passed away. For those that are familiar with the Misfit of Demon King Academy, the manga artist behind that series, Kaya Haruka, recently passed away. Square Enix made an announcement that the artist passed away on July 6th, and they mentioned that the cause of death was unknown, but the artist was undergoing treatment for pancreatic cancer. So you might have heard that the series was canceled about a few days before we even knew that they passed away. But it was canceled so they could undergo treatment for it, and they even left a message saying that they regret that the manga had to end the way it did. They will treasure their time working on it. So, our condolences to friends and family and the fans of Misfit of Demon King Academy. And that concludes episode 19 of the Centaku Media Journal. Thank you for listening, and if you are curious as to what Centaku Media has in store, be sure to check out our socials at Centaku Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and also be sure to check out our Twitch streams in which we stream 3 times a week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on twitch.tv/Centaku Media, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m. as well as Friday nights where you can watch what we're playing. And also be sure to check out previous episodes of the podcast, which is on whatever service you are listening, and new episodes come out twice a week. So from 2 weeks from this episode is when episode 20 drops. And also stay tuned to a new series called the Ikari Strain, where I talk about, or rather get really emotional about a topic in particular that will take too much time to cover in a special episode or in an episode of the Centaku Media Journal. So be sure to check out the pilot episode where I talk about spoilers. So I know that's something that y'all relate to. But until next time, I will be leaving you all, and have a good time. And until next time, so long.